Hello, friends. I'm Sara Gaston.
And I'm Joe Grisaffi.
And today we would like to talk to you a little bit about SAG, the Screen Actors Guild. Now, I want to open this with the following disclaimer. Any specific questions you have about the Screen Actors Guild and Screen Actor Guild projects, I want you to go directly to their website and speak with a representative or read the information on there. But why I want to talk about this today is because a lot of actors hear the word SAG and they think it means a few things. They think if a project has the name SAG anywhere in it, it means they're going to get SAG points, SAG eligibility, SAG residuals, a SAG salary, okay? And the truth is there are a lot of different SAG contracts available out there. Now, if you are in a national SAG commercial, yeah, you might be getting in all sorts of like usage fees and residuals and airtime payment. But if you are in a SAG new media project, for example, or a SAG modified low budget, or a SAG, moderate budget. I mean, I don't even know that I'm saying the names right. There's so many different kinds. You run the risk of getting your hopes up when it's not what you think it is. And one of the examples that comes to mind is a SAG low budget that I worked on a few years ago. Actually, Joe and I both worked on.
Mm-hmm. I know which one you're talking
about.
Yeah,
exactly. And I got this through my agent, and it was a moderate day rate, but it was a modified, right? So they had a modified budget. But because of the type of contract that it was, it had nothing to do with SAG eligibility. And there were several young actors who worked on that project who were heartbroken because they heard the word SAG, and the director was telling them this because SAG was in the name, they were going to get SAG eligibility and then could then join the union. And that's not accurate. What would you like to add, Joe?
I would like to add so much because I have had this come up in many, many conversations. As you know, I used to do extras casting for relatively big films here in Houston.
Right.
And a lot of actors know that if you work 3 days as an extra on a SAG movie, you can become eligible. Well, that's not true in Texas.
Well, and also, you still have to get on a SAG voucher, right?
Right. Well, that's the whole thing. That's where I was going with it.
Okay, great.
Extras in Texas are not covered by the Screen Actors Guild on film, in motion pictures. And back when we did Friday Night Lights, there must have been dozens of people who thought they were leaving that movie SAG eligible because they worked for more than 3 days.
Okay.
And I had to break their hearts and say, I'm sorry, no, this doesn't count because you have to be on a Screen Actors Guild extras voucher for those 3 days to count, which they're not going to pass out in Texas because they don't have to.
We are a right to work state, my friends.
If you're in California, yes, and my number may be incorrect now because it changes every contract renegotiation.
Yep.
But the last time I worked in California, on a film that was a Screen Actors Guild contract, the first 45 extras on a given day had to be on a Screen Actors Guild extras voucher. Those are the ones that go towards your 3 days of eligibility. In Texas, you don't get that.
Right.
And a lot of people thought they were.
Right.
And more recently, I was casting a SAG commercial.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I called this guy I knew.
Did I audition for it?
It was just barbecue type guys.
Oh, okay.
And so you weren't right. Okay. Anyway, I brought in this guy who's, he's a new actor. He's inexperienced, but he was the right look.
Right.
I brought him in to audition, and he got a callback, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because there weren't many callbacks on that thing.
Yeah.
He decided not to come to the callback because he got a job as an extra on a film in Austin, and I tried to explain to him briefly what I just told you. That's not, the movie may be SAG, but you're not SAG going out to work on that. And this commercial, if you get cast, could get you like $10,000 to $15,000.
Right.
But he chose to go work on the SAG film and make his $75 a day.
Right.
Which, if he needed it, great. Bird in the hand and all that, right?
Sure.
But if he didn't need it,
blew an opportunity.
I won't call him back because of that.
Yeah.
Because that's
poor choice.
Yes, poor choice. And I don't think there's I think there's a lot of casting directors out there who would feel the same way.
Oh, I'm sure. Can we talk about fire in the hole?
Yes.
Okay. Here's another thing about being SAG. And here's the thing. Unions are wonderful entities in that they are trying to protect employees, okay? So the Screen Actors Guild, I'm all for it. I'm a member of Actors Equity, which is the Stage Actors Guild. So I have nothing against unions. But here's the thing. Once you join a union, you are limited to working only on union projects. And that can be really beneficial if you are an actor with the resume and the caliber of talent and ability to be competitive for those SAG jobs. Well, a bazillion years ago, Michael Bay was shooting Pearl Harbor in Galveston, and there were a lot of extras, and apparently he was giving out lines like candy, right? So you say this, and you say this, and you say this. And there was this one actor, and he was not good. And I know this because I was later in a class with him, and he was given the line "fire in the hole." So he says, "Fire in the hole!" And he gets on a SAG contract, and all of a sudden he's eligible to join, and he joins. Only the thing is, now he's competing with people who are a lot more experienced than he, a lot better trained than he, in a right-to-work state, in a market that is mostly commercials and industrials, many of which are not SAG. They are non-union. Ouch.
If you're eligible, if you are fortunate enough to become eligible like that, remember that eligibility does not expire. There is no rush to go join the union. You will get a letter that's very strongly encouraging you to, and I think it encourages you by saying, join the ranks of the professionals.
Right.
Well, you know what? If you're getting paid to act, you're a professional.
Yep.
You don't have to be. Union doesn't mean professional.
Yep.
In my opinion, I think the definition states that.
Right.
The definition of professional just means you're getting paid to do something.
Right.
So heed that warning. If you
Yes.
find yourself becoming eligible early in your career, you don't have to join.
Yeah.
You can join when you're ready. That's not going anywhere.
And talk to your agent about that. That's the other thing, is they have their fingers on the pulse of the current market that you're in. And when I started going back and forth to LA, my management out there were thrilled that I was SAG eligible, but that I hadn't joined because for some reason, and I don't know the particulars, again, you could talk to SAG about this, but there's more and more non-union work in Los Angeles. So you can actually get a really high-paying non-union job there. But the idea is if somebody was really interested in me for something and I had to join, I could just trot down to the office there. I want to say it's not on Melrose. Anyway,
I don't remember the address.
I don't remember the address.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, I could just go down to the office, pay my fee, and then it's done, right? So again, nothing against unions, but we are a right to work state here, and it just doesn't always serve you. So check with either your agent or a reliable mentor.
We really want to emphasize the importance of understanding the contracts you see. Yeah. And which ones make you eligible and which ones don't.
Yep.
There are a couple, maybe they've consolidated them into one. It's been a while since I've followed it. There used to be several low-budget contracts. Maybe now there's just one.
Right.
But the low-budget SAG contracts are to benefit the SAG members. If you're already SAG, the low-budget contracts are encouraging filmmakers to sign a contract even though they can't afford scale.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and something else to consider is, last I heard, okay, if somebody was operating under any sort of SAG contract, that project was registered with the Screen Actors Guild, right? So if you're confused about the terms, again, you can always reach out to SAG and say, hey, I'm on this contract for this project called, Eddie's baseball game, and I'm just wondering what the terms are. Does this mean that I will get residuals or some sort of usage fee? Does this mean I'll get I'll be SAG eligible? Does this mean, I get pension benefits or health insurance? They should have all that information available in the contract there at the SAG office.
Right. What Sara said is true. If they're a SAG signatory, that's the term. If the production is a SAG signatory and is being promoted that way, you can ask these questions even before you get cast.
Yep.
If there's a film out there that's saying they're SAG, that means they've signed a contract with SAG.
Right.
And you can call SAG and ask them about the production before you even audition if they're bragging about being SAG, and they can tell you. I personally have seen casting notices saying they're SAG, and I've called the SAG office, and they hadn't signed a contract.
Right. If they're being honest, they will say something like, SAG new media pending or something like that.
Pending. That's a key word there.
Yeah.
You tell them you haven't the intent to submit a contract, or you've already submitted, they haven't approved it yet.
Right.
That's all fine. But if they're attaching SAG to that title, you can call SAG and ask.
Right. And something else, if I may add, sometimes a filmmaker, and here's the thing, I don't think people are sitting there twirling their mustache, right? They just want to, they're excited about their project. But sometimes what a filmmaker will do is sort of put that out there as a carrot, but maybe it is pending. And the thing is, they might want to get you on board, and they might want you to start promoting the film, and they might want you to, start doing some sort of marketing for them or crowdfunding for them. But you have the right to say, well, you know what? Okay, yeah, I'll do all that stuff for you. Let's wait until that paperwork comes through and we know that this is going to be a SAG project or whatever, right? It's not unusual for new filmmakers to kind of put the cart before the horse, and they sometimes like to use their actors to help promote their project. Nothing wrong with that. But be careful about attaching yourself to something when you're not sure, just in general, what the terms are and what the situation's ultimately going to be. I've had that bite me before.
And just a little anecdote here. I don't know if this has to do with what we were talking about or not, but it's a fun story I like to share. I had the good fortune of getting to be an extra in the original Pirates of the Caribbean.
Were you a SAG extra, Joe?
I was on a SAG contract as an extra for 3 weeks. I shouldn't say SAG contract. I should say I worked for 3 weeks as an extra on a SAG voucher daily.
Yes.
At the time, I was a Screen Actors Guild member. There were a lot of people out there. I think one day there were easily over 100 people. And
you were a Marine?
I was a Marine, so I was a redcoat. And if you remember the film, if you remember the details of the film, when Jack Sparrow was being walked to the gallows, there was a guy, a British man, with the declaration announcing his death. Oh. Does that ring a bell?
Poor Jack Sparrow.
They're marching Jack Sparrow to the gallows, and there's a guy with a scroll saying the declaration of why he's being sentenced to death and so on.
Yeah.
And that role was cast on set.
Was it cast from one of the extras?
Yes. The director, or I should say the assistant director, came out and had all the men stand up. I was a man, still am, so I stood up, and then he looked around and said, that's very funny. Yeah. Now, every one of you who can do an authentic British accent, remain standing. I sat down.
Thank you.
I'm not going to try to fake it if I can't really do it well, because there was a couple of actual British guys there.
Yeah.
Well, he whisked away 3 men, and 2 came back after a little while. And
the third was never heard from again.
The third was cast as I don't know what that character would be called, but he was the Proclamation Barker or whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Proclamation guy.
Yeah, and he went probably from $125 a day to probably $50,000.
Yeah.
Because of that little
and
bit.
Residuals.
Well, that's what I mean, with residuals.
Yeah.
That a movie like that gets played forever, and he's probably still to this day collecting money from that. So that's a little side note.
Yeah.
It's possible to get something really great by going out to be an extra on a SAG commercial or film.
Yes.
Even on the Pearl Harbor guys were all non-union.
Oh, that's true.
So I will never discourage anyone from going out and being an extra on a SAG film, a big budget or a moderate budget SAG film with known people, because you don't know what could happen.
Magic.
Yes. Just because you're a non-union extra doesn't mean you won't end up being a union principal.
Just don't be a pest.
Yeah, don't be a pest.
Don't be that person that lurks.
So I will never discourage you from doing extra work on SAG films.
Yeah.
I think it's very, especially if you're new.
Yeah. But to circle back, we just want you to be clear-eyed when it comes to any sort of SAG offering in your employment. If you have questions, please call the SAG office or do some research on their website to make sure that whatever you are considering getting involved with that claims to be SAG, you understand exactly the terms for that particular project and, more importantly, your particular contract.
Right. And like we said, if it's associated with SAG, if the producers are saying it's SAG, you can call SAG. Ask them all these questions. Ask them if working on this film will make you eligible.
Yep.
A lot of people get discouraged, like Sara said at the beginning. They did a SAG project, but unfortunately the contract that they were working on does not make you eligible.
Yep. All right. I think
And just real quick,
okay.
if you do get bumped up like that, if you do get cast in a SAG project and you're non-union, you'll have to fill out a Taft-Hartley. That's a term you're going to need to know. It's harmless. It's part of the process. So don't be scared or confused when they say, oh, I need you to do a Taft-Hartley. What's that? That's
Right.
just saying basically they tried to find a SAG member and they couldn't, so they hired you because you fit the specs.
Lucky you.
Yeah, lucky you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of information. Ask those questions in the comment section. We'll be happy to address them. Okay?
Or better yet, call SAG.
Yes.
We may not be able to answer them.
If it's a question about what can SAG do for you, just call SAG and ask them what they can do for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you like this, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel so you can be notified when we upload more videos.
Yep.
Hopefully this has been helpful. And thank you for watching.
Oh, yes, thank you. And one thing is we both have separate channels, so I have some videos that he doesn't have and vice versa. So subscribe to both our channels so that you can get the full Monty.
Yes. Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. We'll see you later.
Bye.